We're going to try something just slightly different tonight, which is going to be a surprise to everyone except for Gayle, because I talked to her first. And since this is a beginner session, we're going to ask if there's beginners here, people who want, or new to the astronomy science. If you have a beginner's question, put your hand up and ask it, and we'll see if this robust group can answer it easily. Anybody have a question? Yeah, please silence. The beginners are afraid of everybody else. Anybody got a question? Uh-oh, Gayle, you're probably going to have to start sooner. All right, well, we thought we'd throw it out and see what would happen. If you're nervous, think about it, because maybe we'll have the last at the end of Gayle's session. So our presenter for tonight's beginner session is Gayle Weiss, who's been a member of the club for many, many years. And she's well known for a lot of bringing stories of the sky to the audience, and does a very wonderful job. And tonight she's going to come and talk to us about something else at our beginner session. Please welcome Gayle Weiss.
In honor of February being the month for Valentine's, we are going to take a look at the goddess of love. The planet Venus has been a target of observation for thousands of years. It is not the largest planet in the solar system, but its closeness to Earth makes it the brightest planet in the sky. It is the second planet from the Sun, and it's the second brightest object in the night sky. Only the Moon is brighter. It's actually the third brightest object in the entire sky. Only the Sun and the Moon are brighter. Venus has a magnitude between -3.8 and -4.6. So it is so bright that you can see it during the daytime on a clear day, but you have to know exactly where to look. But be careful not to look too near to the Sun. Venus is the second largest terrestrial planet, and it is sometimes referred to as Earth's sister planet, because of their similar size and mass. There's only a difference of 638 kilometers in diameter, and Venus has 81.5% of the Earth's mass, so it's just about 20% less. Both planets have a central core, a molten mantle, and a crust. Of all the solar system planets, Venus is the closest to being a twin of Earth. The orbit of Venus is also the closest to Earth. Both worlds have relatively young surfaces, and both have thick atmospheres. However, it is worth noting that Venus's atmosphere clouds are mostly made up of poisonous sulfuric acid. Venus is known as the morning star and the evening star. Early civilizations thought that Venus was two different bodies. The Greeks called them Phosphorus and Hesperus. Phosphorus means light-bearing because in the dark and in moist air, phosphorus glows with a dull white light. The Romans called the two bodies Lucifer and Vesper. Lucifer was the personification and the god of the morning star, and he was one of the many sons of Aurora, the goddess of the dawn. The Latin word Luciferus and the Greek word phosphorus mean exactly the same thing, the bringer of the light. And the name was given to this god because he was the last star of the night sky to be visible on Earth before the sunrise. One of his brothers was named Hesperus, meaning evening or dusk, and he was the evening star, being the first visible star in the night sky. Then around 500 BC, the Greek mathematician Pythagoras realized that the morning and evening stars were in fact the same planet. At that point, Phosphorus and Hesperus became merely alternate names for the same star god in his brighter and darker aspects. This is because when Venus's orbit around the Sun overtakes Earth's orbit, it changes from being visible after sunset to being visible before sunrise. Then, for some reason that I could not find, the Greeks named this planet after the goddess of love and beauty, Aphrodite, and the Romans knew her as Venus. Mayan astronomers made detailed observations of the planet Venus as early as 650 AD, and the ancient Babylonians tracked her wanderings through the sky in records that date as far back as 1600 BC. The dense clouds of sulfuric acid surrounding Venus make it impossible to view the surface from outside the atmosphere. It was only when radio mapping was developed in the 1960s that scientists were able to observe and measure the extreme temperatures and hostile environment. And there's a picture of that. Venus is the hottest planet in the solar system, so you might think this would be a tropical paradise, just right for your winter vacation with your Valentine. But the average surface temperature is 462 degrees Celsius, and because Venus does not tilt on its axis, there are no seasons. The dense atmosphere is about 96% carbon dioxide, so it traps heat and causes a greenhouse effect. The surface is hot enough to melt lead because of its runaway greenhouse atmosphere. So if you decide not to take my advice and you do travel there, be careful what you use to build your spaceship. Atmospheric pressure on the planet is 92 times greater than on the Earth's, so it's about the same as the water pressure on Earth about 1 kilometer under the ocean. Winds in Venus's middle cloud layer can swipe across at super fast speeds that can reach 724 kilometers per hour. These Venusian winds are way faster than the speediest tornadoes on Earth. There are more volcanoes on Venus than on any other planet in the solar system. Astronomers know of more than 1,600 volcanoes on its surface, but there are probably many more that are too small for us to see. Probably most of them are dormant, but many may still be active. More than 1,000 volcanoes or volcanic centers larger than 20 kilometers have been found on the surface. A day on Venus lasts almost a year on Earth. It takes 243 Earth days to rotate once on its axis, and its orbit around the Sun takes 225 Earth days compared to the Earth's 365. So Venus's day is 243 of ours, and its year is only 220. Venus's day is longer than its year. So this must be a really screwy place to live. I don't know how you could ever plan your day. Venus rotates counterclockwise, which is also known as retrograde rotation. It also differs from most other planets in the solar system by having no natural satellites. Venus is rare among the planets because we can see it cross in front of the Sun. Only Venus and Mercury do this from our point of view on Earth. Venus transits occur rarely, with pairs separated by 8 years, coming around just less than once per century. Because Venus orbits the Sun within Earth's orbit, the planet appears to have phases like the Moon. When Venus is on the opposite side of the Sun, it is in full phase, and it appears in new phase when it is between the Earth and the Sun. The first person to witness these phases was our friend, the Italian astronomer Galileo, in the year 1610. He observed that Venus appeared in phases in the sky similar to the phases of the Moon. This was evidence that Venus orbited the Sun, and so he contributed to the downfall of the belief that the Sun and the planets revolved around the Earth. That theory had been accepted for centuries. Nicholas Copernicus was a Polish scientist who lived about 100 years before Galileo. He had already come up with the unorthodox idea that the Sun was at the center of the solar system. Galileo knew about it, and he had accepted Copernicus's heliocentric or sun-centered theory. It was Galileo's observations of Venus that proved that theory. Using his telescope, Galileo found that Venus went through phases just like the Moon. But the nature of these phases could only be explained by Venus going around the Sun, not the Earth. Galileo concluded that Venus must travel around the Sun, passing at times behind and beyond it, rather than revolving directly around the Earth. Galileo made extensive observations of Venus. I can't read that, but if you can, just let me know. And he virtually proved that the Earth was not the center of the universe. It was this assertion that most angered the church leaders of the time. It took more than 350 years for the Catholic Church to finally pardon him. But it shouldn't have been a pardon because he was right anyway. This planet was named after the Roman goddess of love and beauty, and the Greeks knew her as Aphrodite. The ancient Romans identified Aphrodite as their goddess Venus. She was originally a goddess of agricultural fertility, vegetation, and springtime. Along with Athena and Hera, Aphrodite was one of the three goddesses whose feud resulted in the beginning of the Trojan War. All of the gods and goddesses, as well as various mortals, were invited to the marriage of Peleus and Thetis, who were to become the eventual parents of Achilles. Remember Achilles and Achilles? Well, he was their kid. Only Eris, the goddess of discord, was not invited to the party. She was annoyed at this, so she arrived with a golden apple inscribed with the words, "For the fairest," which she threw among the princesses. Aphrodite, Hera, and Athena all claimed to be the fairest of them all, and thus the rightful owner of the apple. The goddesses chose to place the matter before Zeus, but Zeus did not want to favor one of the goddesses, so he put the choice into the hands of Paris, a Trojan prince. The three goddesses bathed in the springs of Mount Ida, where Troy was situated, and then appeared before Paris for his decision. All three goddesses were identically beautiful, and Paris could not decide among them, so they resorted to bribes. Hera tried to bribe Paris with power over all Asia and Europe, and Athena offered him wisdom, fame, and glory in battle. But Aphrodite promised Paris that, if he were to choose her as the fairest of them all, she would let him marry the most beautiful woman on earth. This woman was Helen, but she was already married to King Menelaus of Sparta. I'm not sure how all of that worked out, but that was her promise. Paris selected Aphrodite and awarded her the apple. The other two goddesses were enraged, and as a direct result, they sided with the Greeks in the Trojan War. Naturally, love was one hot topic among the ancient Greeks, and the number of romantic stories is astounding, but most of them end in tragedy. Of course, the Greeks honored love, but surprisingly, they did not particularly glorify Aphrodite, the goddess of love. Her nicknames show how the Greeks really felt about this powerful emotion. She was Androchinus, the killer of men, Epitombidia, she is upon the graves, and Melena, which means the blackened one. Aphrodite had no really important festivals, and her favorite lover was Ares, the god of war. And I think I can see why. We know him better by his Roman name, Mars. Aphrodite, by the way, was married to Hephaestus, the smith god. Unfortunately, she did not seem to be aware of this, as she had many love affairs among the gods and mortals. One story was invented to explain Aphrodite's marriage to Hephaestus. Zeus hastily married Aphrodite to Hephaestus in order to prevent the other gods from fighting over her. In another version of the myth, Hephaestus gave his mother Hera a golden throne, but when she sat on it, she became trapped, and he refused to let her go until she agreed to give him Aphrodite's hand in marriage. Hephaestus was overjoyed to be married to the goddess of beauty, and he forged her many pieces of beautiful jewelry. But one day, while Aphrodite and Ares secretly lay together in her bed, Helios, the sun god who could see everything, he saw the lovers, and he told her husband. Hephaestus went to work in his shop, and he built a trap of an invisible net. The careless lovers fell into this trap. Hephaestus brought all the gods into the bedchamber to laugh at the captured adulterers. But instead of sympathizing with the husband, they thought it was hilarious, and they began to laugh hysterically. Zeus punished Aphrodite by making her fall into unrequited love with a mortal. I find this very surprising because Zeus had a great deal of experience with extramarital love affairs. Aphrodite's overwhelming passion was for Adonis, but she had to share him with Persephone, the queen of the dead. We see Persephone in the spring sky as the constellation Virgo. Neither woman wanted to share him, so to settle the dispute between them, Zeus ruled that for 1/3 of the year, Adonis was to live by himself, For another third, he would live with Persephone, and the remaining third, he would live with Aphrodite. I was watching an old movie called Sherlock Holmes and the Spider Woman, remember those old Basil Rathbone movies? Well, I didn't realize there would be real spiders in it. By that time, it was committed. So in it, Holmes and Watson were chasing the bad guys, and they ended up in a carnival, and there was a fortune teller, and she had this sign outside of her tent. And I noticed this, the line of Venus. So I thought, oh, okay, there's something to talk about. So I looked it up, and the line of Venus signifies a compassionate and open-hearted character. Not at all like the Spider Woman, so I don't know how that worked in either. And we also have this fellow, the Venus flytrap. This plant is not from Venus. It supposedly got its name because the flowers are really pretty, like the goddess Venus, and they're white, like the planet Venus in the sky. And the flytrap part is because it eats bugs, which is kind of icky. So since our goddess of love is the evening star, she is in the evening now. That's what you've been seeing up there for the last few weeks. And in the next few weeks, she's going to meet up with a crescent moon, she's going to meet Mercury and the Pleiades. So the next time it's clear, go out and take a good long look at her and see for yourself just how beautiful she is. The end.
Thanks, Gayle. So we're a little ahead of schedule, so what we'll do, just to let people know, what we have down in front here is a bunch of movies that are up for grabs. If you're interested, come on down and grab some additional magazines, and also, for those that are here on the executive, if you could just stand up, the ones who are on the executive right now. Right here.
I don't have to announce what you're going to say.
I'm not going to say anything. What I'm saying is we have a couple of minutes here, so if somebody had a question or that about the club or the center, how things happening or what's coming up, search one of us out, because we're ahead about 10 minutes right now, but we'll give it 10 minutes for those that show up for the regular meeting time. So we'll convene again here in about 10 minutes. Thanks. Bye.
Question for Miller.
You want to ask it yourself? How about you ask it? Okay? Go ahead.
How big is the universe?
How big is the universe? There's a good question. Does anybody want to take a chance and bite that one off? Sorry, Jay?
92 billion light years. Oh, 90 billion. Did you listen to my talk class?
So Jay behind us here is letting you know 92 billion light years is how big the universe, the estimate is today.
We can't see all.
Is that diameter or radius?
Oh, not wait, oh, see, all we needed was one person, Slava asked the question, now we're getting more questions. There you go, so Slava, 92 billion light years is what they estimate it to be now. But like Jay said here, is that we haven't seen the end of it yet. The beginning. I guess I said that wrong. The beginning, we haven't seen the beginning. Okay, does that help? Yeah, do you have any more questions? No, not for tonight, okay. Thank you very much, Slava. So maybe what we'll try to do, for certainly anybody who's new, so you can think about it and not be nervous about it, is when we have the beginner session, we might just do that. Ask either at the beginning or at the end of the session, who's got a question? And the idea is for us to share and give people the opportunity to get used to asking other members of the club a question. Because you feel like sometimes, I remember me, still that way. Geez, I don't want to say anything. People think I'm stupid. That's what I think sometimes. But the reality is, the reason I'm here is because I don't know anything about this. I find it really fascinating, and I really don't know. So what we're trying to do is help you break down the barriers so that you feel comfortable asking somebody the question. And I know in this group, if that person doesn't know the answer, they'll find somebody that will give you an answer. You may not like the answer, because astronomy is that really cool thing, where you can have a lot of different answers to the same question, and all of them can be right. Yes.
Well, I have a question. Is Elon Musk going to destroy astronomy?
There you go. That's a good question for another time, possibly. What I will say to that, a bit of a challenge out there, everybody. The type of light pollution. If you're not active and telling people about light pollution, and being active and letting hydro, the municipalities know that lights are a problem in different areas, and you have an opportunity to put input into controls for some of these things, just same with the Elon Musk's string of satellites and things like that. The important thing first, you should understand what the issue is. Astronomy is a science. So science, I'm not a scientist, so if it's a science, you should analyze what the problem is, understand the problem, provide solutions, right? Come up with options, think about it, right? And then present it. You have a better chance of the person listening to you because you're trying to have a dialogue and explain what's going on. Here's some options, okay? Just some ideas to think about. Oh my goodness, I got a client. Okay, we'll do a couple more questions, and then I'm going to move on. I'm sorry, this young lady up here first had a question.
I read things and I get mixed up easily because I don't actually know what I'm supposed to be ordering the events for.
Okay.
Be happy. If Beetlejuice actually does that, do we get to see it?
We will see it. If it was to go supernova, we will see it. It happened about 100 years ago, if we see it. Is that right? 100 years? Beetlejuice?
Like 750, yeah. 761 or something.
Yeah.
Somewhere around 700, like.
So that's how long ago it happened, if we see it. But we will see it.
But it would be Beetlejuice's past, but our present, right?
Correct. That's how I interpret it anyways.
This is what it is.
Yeah, no, it's a good question.
How old is Olympus Mons on Mars?
Where's Jared? Jared's not here tonight.
Is it still spewing lava or is it stopped?
I don't, is there somebody in the room that has the answer to that question?
What was the question?
The question was, is Olympus Mons on Mars still spewing?
No.
It's dead.
It's dead?
I think so.
Okay, so we had
That's
a...
my opinion, though. I don't have any facts.
I love the way you notice that? There's a little bit of scientist in that person. Based on the facts that I've looked at, I believe it's dead. So that's the current opinion expressed at this point. I'm not going to challenge it because I don't know. And it's very likely, yes, sir.
So I was excited to go to the planetarium presentation a couple weeks ago with Dr. Peebles.
Okay.
We talked a bit about dark matter. And so I'm a neuroscientist, not an astronomer. What are any, if any exist, any counter theories to what Dr. Peebles has explained in regard to the dark matter theory? Are there counter arguments, or is this pretty well accepted?
I'm looking for people that would normally love to stand up and discuss that one, but I don't see them in the room tonight.
Yeah, Michelle
Michelle's
and Danielle's in reading week.
Yeah, so,
There's a modified Newtonian dynamics called MOND, M-O-N-D, that is put forward as an alternative. And what it does is it weakens Newtonian gravity at very large distances. But it's having a little trouble holding up under current measurements right now.
are you able to hear that?
No, not really.
Okay, just a second.
You have some.
I got Wikipedia.
Yeah.
There is a modification of normal Newtonian dynamics that weakens the force of gravity over extremely large distances that can explain some of many of the things attributed to dark matter. But it's been running into some difficulties recently with some of the newer measurements that are being made at the impact. You'll have to look it up. MOND, it's called MOND, Modified Newtonian Dynamics.
I'm going to do the fellow at the top first, unless you had a follow-on to that?
No, I can add something to that too.
Sure, go ahead. I'll come over to you.
Hans Alfen was a
Oh, here, we
famous...
just use this
Yeah.
paper.
Hans Alfen was a famous Swedish cosmologist, and he proposed that the universe is basically full of plasma, and that's basically what's holding a lot of things together. And I just wonder if anyone's thought about the possibility that it could be plasma in the spiral arms, which are sort of maintaining their integrity, based on what Hans Alfen said about plasma.
So again, as we mentioned, a good question. We've got a couple of other ideas, because you asked, was there other theories? And we have a couple of them now. And again, the people that are the professionals, unfortunately, they're not here tonight, because they would have some, at least give us some other guidance in that area. At the very top there, I think somebody had their hand up. Or did we get everybody? Oh, sorry, okay, I'll take this one over here, and then we'll move on. Here, maybe I'll just get you saved here.
But anyways, I'm just thinking that particles, subatomic particles such as neutrinos, which ordinarily have negligible mass, as they pass through gravitational fields, such as large ones, black holes, galaxies, that they would assume mass as the gravity increases, and that increased mass could be perceived as dark matter.
Does anybody have thought or follow on to that? So there you go. One fairly recognized theory and three more potential things that could be discussed about the same idea of kind of how the universe or where the mass of the universe is found. Interesting. Now myself as a beginner, I don't think I would ask any of those questions. But myself as a beginner would find those interesting. Just to understand that there's a whole lot of different ways of looking at astronomy and cosmology and all the other new things. All right. How'd you find this? Is that interesting?
Yeah.
Okay. Brian may not like it, but we changed the format. All right, so tonight our session's going to run. We've done the beginner session with Gayle. Again, thank you very much, Gayle. We're going to look at, go through the announcements shortly. We're going to do what's up with Jay Anderson, what's new, Gord Tilloch. Gord here? I haven't seen Gord. Okay, so he's here somewhere. I just can't see it. Oh, there you are. Jesus. Scott, are you here yet? No? Then I'll talk about what he's got on there. What's up with the planetarium? We'll have a short break, half-hour break. And then our feature presentation this evening is Richard Conrad, Astronomy Software. Okay. So, just a reminder about the University of Manitoba Open House. It's the last Wednesday of every month, held at 385 University College, room 240. Next one is February 26th, so coming up next week. Don't know what it is, but we would like to encourage people to vote. If you're so inclined, I'm always looking for volunteers to help talk, use the scopes and things like that. Please contact Danielle here at the university if you're interested in helping, so she knows what volunteers are coming along. And it is open to the public. So for the people that are here, who are just visiting and are not necessarily members, you're welcome there as well. Everybody's welcome. And with that, are there any new members in the room? If you are, meekly put your hand up. There you go. See, I just had to encourage you. Meekly put your hand up. And for those that are, again, those who are the executive, just hold your hands up. So if you have a question about how things are, different things, or you hear us talk about something and you're not sure, come over and see us. For those who are visiting with us tonight and aren't members, you can come visit us as well and find out. We can tell you about why you may want to consider becoming a member of the RASC Winnipeg Center. OCAM March Astronomy Night. It was last night. The next one coming up is March 19th. The topic this year, or next month, will be Auroras, and Jerry Schmachansky will be giving the talk on that one. Just in case you're interested, last night was on sketching, and it was really cool. Jerry was a talker as well. It was really, really nice to see. We had about 25 people. There was a talk about sketching, and then we went out and did some observations, in particular the Orion Nebula. And much to my surprise, about 18 of those people went downstairs and were sketching the Orion Nebula as they saw it. So that was really, really cool to see. So just to let you know, there's all sorts of neat things. Volcanic Marsh, if you want to volunteer and go out there, there's normally a $10 entry fee. That's waived if you bring out your scope to volunteer and set up, or a big set of binoculars. Binoculars are very much welcome there. We like to be able to show people different ways of looking at the heavens, the stars, the sky. All right? And the next one will be 19th of March. Gord, do you mind coming down?
Already? All right.
Yep, you're up. So Gord's going to come down. The new website has been launched, and he's going to walk us through it so we know how to figure that out. Chris, you might need your IT definition.
Interesting one. Pull it out there. It's supposed to be way easier than it used to be. It'll get there. It'll get there. There you go.
Great. All that fancy.
Except, it's not the right one. Hang on a second.
Horse head is over there.
There you go. Nope. Do I need this? Do I need it? It sounds like, maybe I do have a bit of a cold, but it sounded like somebody talking through a paper bag. Can you hear me now? All right. I can use my FM voice. Okay, hey, guess what? Beetlejuice is getting brighter. See? Latest measurements. This is from the American Association of Variable Star Observers. It's now up to 1.537 and climbing. So watch it get brighter. Read my article for comparison stars. Okay, so we have a new website. Don't know if you noticed. I did post on the RASC Winnipeg list, and the process of getting the new site up and running, I was supposed to send an email out to each and every one of you with your account information. Unfortunately, the host that we're using had a bit of a throttle on our emails going out, and I blasted about 200 out, and it stopped at about 10. So if you did not get an email with your account information for the new website, it's super easy to log on. You already have an account, and I'll tell you how in a little bit. So just let me get the presentation that I should have had up and running a few minutes ago, up and running. There it is. So I'm going to super quickly take you through, there we go, all about the new website. I usually have my picture here. This is my picture this time of year. This is my telescope enjoying the fire. This is me enjoying the fire because it's cloudy out and it's cold. So that's my picture right now. So just a little bit of history. The first RASC website, is Kevin Jorgensen here? He was here last time because he was giving me heck about how I ruined his website 15 years ago. What, 20 years ago? The first website we ever had was a simple HTML, 1990s, really ugly, wasn't quite, flashing whirly logos. That was before then. It was just text. Not long after that, we built a website that was a little nicer, and it was a little more functional, and that's been the trend ever since. We built a website in about 2009. My friend Paul Trudell built that one on Joomla, which is a content management system that we built the 100 Hours of Astronomy website for the International Year of Astronomy in. So that one lasted a while. Then a WordPress site got built in about 2014 by Julius Lopez Garcia, and this one is replacing that one. So it's been an evolution over time, and hopefully a positive evolution as technology has changed and capabilities have gotten better. Now the reason I'm looking up like that is it's on my screen, but it's really, really little. So I'm going to go stand over here. So our new website, that's the front page. By the way, Sam Giesbrick, stand up. Where are you? Take a bow. All of the stuff that's really pretty is Sam. I'm a plumber. Okay? He makes it look nice. I make sure that it flows the right places. So Sam, the look and feel of this site is all Sam, and I did a lot of the techie back-end stuff. So the new site is also WordPress. What that means is people who are not techies can log in and make changes and do stuff in it. So that makes a lot of sense when you've got a group of people that want to maintain it. New attractive format. We have an event manager that allows you to save the events to your calendar, that kind of stuff, as well as allows other people to post events. We have comprehensive program pages that have all the different RASC programs. We'll take a look at that. Dedicated Glenley and Spruce Woods sections that we can expand upon. Comprehensive Winnocentrics archive. So if you're into looking back, and we are going to look at 1972, that's the oldest one we have, and we're looking to fill that out. So if you do have some moldy old Winnocentrics lying around, even on paper, get them to me, I'll scan them and put them on the website. Online forums for members only, as well as the Winnocentrics, and hopefully a gallery of pictures from events coming soon. So what's WordPress? Well, it was originally for blogging, online web blogging. It's free, open source. It's written in PHP, which is very popular. It's a language I have used a ton. Has now evolved into the most popular website development platform on the internet. It runs about 60 million sites, about a third of the top 10 million sites on the internet. Our WordPress is hosted on a company called SiteGround, which is one of the big, probably 5 hosting companies. It's quite inexpensive and very reliable, so we've got that hosted there. And on top of WordPress, we have a whole bunch of these plugins. You'll hear us talk about plugins, and those add capabilities. For example, there's a forum plugin which automatically adds forums. There's a gallery plugin that adds galleries, that sort of thing. Very helpful, very useful. Did I skip something? There's a slide missing. Okay. Anyway, something else that we added is some management tools, and this is mostly for council use, but something that was missing is we can get a download of our membership list from National, and what we needed to do was be able to slice and dice that membership list so we can have a list of members who are new, because we want to send them a welcome message, and then we have a list of members who are expiring because we want to send them a message to remind them to renew, and so on. So we built a little bit on the back end to help the council actually just do the stuff that the council does to help us grow the club and serve our members. So I'll show you a little bit about that. And as far as account management, your account will be set up automatically. You don't have to do anything. Your account will be set up with your first initial and last name, unless your first initial is J and your last name is Anderson, in which case you have your first name and your last name, period last name. First name, Judy.Anderson, J.Anderson, because you're the only awkward ones in the whole group, obviously. So new members will receive an email with their credentials when National has them in their database. I've actually set up, just tonight, I set somebody up manually, so we can do that real quick, because apparently National is a little slow in getting people. So when people join the club, they should get on the website pretty quickly. You need to be an active member to access certain parts of the website, and no one can register on the site. There's no registration capability, simply because that creates tons of problems with guys from Russia and Nigeria and places logging on and offering you millions of dollars from their, ex-King's account and stuff. So what does it look like? Well, it looks like this. No, it doesn't. Let's do this. Let's just get out of PowerPoint. Let's get out of PowerPoint. There it is. There we go. There it is. Okay, good. So as you can see, it's pretty. It's for somebody who's looking at our club for the first time, it's professional, it's nice, it actually allows you to do things very quickly because of the menu. If you are interested in becoming a member, you can learn more about membership very quickly, and once you've actually clicked on that link, get my notes here, it has a very detailed look at what your benefits are. Have a look at this, because some things you may not even know about. For example, there are member discounts for members for budget rent-a-car, Delta hotels, and some insurance company in Ontario. So there's a rotating events calendar. We need to add more events, clearly, but all of our meetings and public events and that sort of thing will all appear in this calendar, and if you click on them, you can get more details about that event. Including all the details you like, which obviously I didn't put too many in there. And you can add it to your Google Calendar, or you can export it to iCal, which is things like Outlook. So,
Jeannie, there's your answer. You were asking about, can you just put it back for a second? It's 17th of September 2023. There you go. There you go.
okay, we have some extended sections on Glenley and Sprucewood Star Party. Obviously, we have more to do, but we have a lot of information about the observatory. It took me a while to find the picture of the Dobsoni, but there it is. So we do have two telescopes at the observatory as well as the pad, and talks about the site, and we have a gallery of pictures, some of which are very neat. So have a look at that. So if we go into the RASC programs, we have the mentorship program. Details about that are forthcoming, because it's kind of a template right now, because we were just working on that yesterday. Glenley, Sprucewood Star Party, most of the stuff that was on the old site are now on the new site, so certainly it has a lot of details about the Sprucewood Star Party, and when that committee gets started up again, it'll probably have a lot more. The Loaner Scope program is also in here, with some details of what the telescopes are we have for loan, and a little bit of information about us, and that's about it. A contact form, so you can contact us and we can tell you what a great club it is. Now that's for anybody who is not a member, right? So they see only that much. If I log in to this site, And hopefully, right about now I need to remember what my password is, which of course using these browsers you never use your password again. So you don't get the screen I just got because that's the kind of the administrator screen. But you'll see now that there's been some menu items added to the menu now that I've logged in and identified who I am. First of all, under programs, you'll see the Winocentrics repository. So if you look, you'll see the latest issue. As soon as Karen puts out the latest issue, it'll be reflected in this button, latest issue. So if you want to look at the latest issue, here it is, right? If you want to, there's actually a document that was created in 1977 with the history of the first, I think, well, 50, or what was it, 66 years of the RASC Winnipeg Center. It's actually an interesting read. That's in there as well. Plus we have, excuse me, we have a repository of all of the Winocentrics that I had in my personal collection or that was provided to me recently. So there are some gaps. You'll notice I was actually on hiatus from the club for about 10 years, so you'll see there are a lot missing, but I know some of you have them, so send them to me and we can get them online. Again, if you want to look at the March-April 2019 edition, click on that, and there it is. And if you go to, oh, I don't know, 1972, February is the first one we had, you'll see things look a little different. But you'll see some familiar names creeping in, even in 1972, like loader scope status. There's this guy called Stan Runge. Obviously a fetus at the time, but he seems to have borrowed a 3.5-inch refractor and not given it back. So I hope it's gone back at some point. But it's fascinating to go through these old Winocentrics, so have fun. And hopefully we can start fleshing out some of the really early issues. Hopefully somebody has some moldy old copies somewhere. But you know, the objective is for the most recent years to get fleshed out. So if they're dark, in other words, if they're not a link, like this May, June 2005, we're missing that issue and we'd like to find a paper copy or a digital copy so we can add it to the site. So this is a project of mine that we'll continue building so that we can have a historical view. Boy, people wrote a lot more in 1972, maybe because there's no internet. Right? They actually wrote articles and stuff. It's fascinating. So the other thing we have is the forums. So these forums are essentially broken down into a series of categories. The general forum, of course, is for general postings like you see on the current RASC Winnipeg list. Who is on the RASC Winnipeg list in this room? Okay, who's not on the RASC Winnipeg list in this room? That's a little easier. Okay, good percentage, yeah. So the website is essentially echoing that list that a lot of people are on. So if you look at this RASC Winnipeg conference here, the forum, you'll see that anything anybody has posted on RASC Winnipeg list is posted into this forum. However, it is one directional. So if you type a reply on the website, it doesn't go back. So this is kind of just to bridge the gap. We know the RASC Winnipeg list won't last forever because the University of Manitoba one day will just decide not to keep posting it. So this is a transitional step that supports both, yet we can start moving towards forums, which is kind of essentially, if you look at the centers across Canada, that's the way everybody's kind of moving towards. So we have members Q&A, which is really going to be driven by the mentor program. You're going to see Darren posting there a lot. He has already. And if you have a question about astronomy, post it there and you'll have a whole bunch of fairly expert people to respond to you and tell you stuff. Equipment discussions, equipment wars, religious battles, whatever, refractors versus reflectors and stuff. Please keep it in the equipment discussions forum. The astrophotography forum is basically a place to put pictures and talk about astrophotography. So if you want to post some images, like I know we've had a few pictures posted already. This is Kevin Golka. He just dug up an old picture of Saturn, right? But you can attach those pictures to this, to a post. People can say, hey, pretty nice shot. And right now it's sorting backwards, I know, because I was trying to get some other conferences to sort backwards, so obviously I didn't do that right. But you can also, if you want to look at larger pictures, you can click on them and they'll go to full size and they'll open up in a new tab. Some pictures are a little larger than the screen, like this one. And of course you can hit escape to make it go away. So that's the hint of the day, because it took me a while to figure that out. So if you want to look at some pictures and post your own pictures, we have about, I don't know, 8 gigabytes of space free at this point. Pictures are usually a couple 100K, so you can post all the pictures you want. Now, if you have a 40 by 40 mosaic of the Orion Nebula complex with, each slice is, 4096 by something, please don't post it on the website because it's just too large. Nobody will want to download it anyway. Go post it somewhere else and then put a link on this forum, please. But for most of these pictures are tiny, comparatively tiny, and feel free to post them on the astrophotography forum so that people can enjoy them. And finally, this one's one that I've encountered on other forums. This is called Members Blogs. And basically, this is a place where you can start a thread and you can talk about your journey in astronomy. So if you want to post observing reports, if you want to post drawings, if you want to post your, your trip to the Bahamas and all the astronomy you did then, this is the place to do it. So I'm into amateur telescope making, astrophotos, and photometry. So you'll see on my little list here that I've posted stuff about telescope making and so on. So this is your place to post your journey in astronomy and share what you'd like to with other people in the club. So create a thread on there and share away. So that's, on the large scale, that's it. Are there any questions? Noting that I do have a cold, my ears are blocked up, so speak loud. Yep, go ahead.
I was just wondering, if we don't already have a board included there, could we have one for astronomy equipment buy and sell? Exchange rate?
A little louder for which equipment?
Could we have a board if one isn't included?
Oh yeah, we can have them for whatever we want.
For buy and sell?
Yeah, absolutely. If that's something, I think that'd probably be a good one to add. I know we were talking also about a few other boards. The one thing is you don't want to have 300 of them because there will be one message every 10 boards and it'll be boring, right? So we want to keep it to a minimum, but that one seems pretty good idea. So, yeah.
A couple of questions. First off, on Winicentrics, I'm just wondering, I'll have Karen will throw something at me here. Is it possible to change the way it's sent out as a link into this instead of as a whole sort of document? Yeah, so she's not
Say that again. You want it as a link?
As a link instead of the whole document, like so that the space in the email is saved.
Oh, for Karen to send out a link. Well, I wasn't going to be pushy, but I got her email today and I said, gee, wouldn't it be easier if Karen just emailed me the newsletter and I could post it on the site and send a link out, right? So using that backend tool, because I'm importing all of the member information, we're going to be able to send emails out to the entire membership. Every month it'll be updated automatically. There's no need to maintain lists and that kind of stuff. So we'll change that workflow, absolutely. Make it easier for Karen and me, right? What used to happen when Gayle was a newsletter editor way many moons ago, she just sent me an email and the newsletter and an email, and it would happen after that. So yeah, we'll work it out.
Okay. Other question is, I think you're running Firefox there.
Yeah.
Does it matter what browser we use? Like, will it work for Edge?
Well, Edge sucks, so. Sorry, was that my own loud voice? Sorry. I've tested it in all browsers, and there, sometimes, all meaning Opera, Firefox, Chrome, IE, Edge, you name it. There's occasionally little glitches in Edge. It's really bad. So don't use that. But it should work in all browsers, on all platforms. And it works very well in mobile devices. So if you have a phone, what happens on a phone, obviously it gets smaller. So you'll see that you get this hamburger effect instead of the menus. The menus sort of compress down and give you this little hamburger in the corner, as it's called. So this would be like on a, so this would be what it would look like on a tablet. And you'd expand that hamburger out, right? And then on a phone, it would look, much smaller. But it is usable. It is usable on pretty much everything. Gee, that was a really bad idea, wasn't it? This mouse is really touchy. Okay. So that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much.
If you do have any questions, please post. You can log into the website, and there's a thread on the website forums called Website Q&A. And I'm sure your question is something that other people are wondering. So please post on the website for under Website Q&A. I'm no longer on the RASC Winnipeg list, so don't post there if you want website questions. Or you can email me directly at webmaster@winnipeg.rasc.ca. So you can send it to the webmaster@winnipeg.rasc.ca. And of course, that's the address of the website is winnipeg.rasc.ca. Okay, thank you.
One last little comment I just wanted to mention for any of you new members that aren't on the list or that you're currently not on my mentorship program list, come and see me at the break, because I'll update Gord on your emails so that way at least we get you in there for notifications when we're doing observing programs and stuff, okay? Just want to make sure nobody's been missed out.
Can you give us login information for those that didn't get it?
Login information.
Sorry?
Login information.
Login information, yeah.
Are you going to pass that along as an email?
Go to winnipeg.rasc.ca and click on Login.
I just did. Didn't work.
What does not work mean? You click on Login, and if you don't know your password, click on Forgot My Password, and it will send you an email. And you can change your password if you don't know what your password is. So your account has already been created. You just need to, if you don't know your password, click on Forgot My Password. It will send you an email to the email that the National has, and then you can change your password and you're good to go. That was a slide on my presentation, but we didn't get there. So, but just go on the site, click Login, and click Forgot My Password, and you're good to go.
And the username is first initial dot and then last name?
User ID is first initial, last name.
Okay. With a dot.
Unless you're Jay.
No dot?
First initial, last name, no dot.
Okay.
Any questions? Webmaster@winnipeg.rasc.ca.
Just as a note, if you aren't sure, last night I logged in with my email address and clicked the forget password, and that also worked. It's going to be the email address that's with National.
All right, again, thank you very much, Gord. At break, if you got questions, track them down. Okay, moving along here very quickly. What's on the planetarium? Yuri's Night for Winnipeg 2020, Saturday, April 11th, 2020 to Sunday, April 12th, 12 a.m. Jan English from the University of Manitoba, Dark Matters. There we go, another discussion on it, 30 years of Hubble search. And and that is on March 7th at 7 p.m. We're just going to briefly talk about that. We're recruiting an event coordinator, and the role of the event coordinator is just that. They coordinate whenever we have a function, or we decide we're going to have a function, whether public or private, or member, and they're going to recruit, assist the council in finding volunteers to run those events. And then they're responsible to update, as Gordon showed, we have the calendar updated, and also to avoid where we have two events that need volunteers on the same day. So the idea is for that person is to try and corral all of this and make sure everything ends up on the website so everybody knows what's going on. And also, when we need to find people to run the event. Or in the case like the barbecue, make sure there's enough barbecues come out, that sort of thing. All right? And yes, that's the main thing. It'll take about, we figure, no more than an hour or two a month once it's going. Mentor program. Just real quick to talk about this. Darren is our person. We're developing it as we go, as was mentioned at our last meeting a couple days ago. We've got indoor modules, observing sessions. Again, the website is going to be used as a tool to update and notify people what's going on and information. And again, Darren, just stand up for a second.
Sure.
Darren is the generally speaking person. If you've got questions about that, you can come see him at the break. Glenley Observatory, for those that are new, open to all members. Warm room key, can't help you tonight because Brian's sick and he has the key. Was already mentioned on the previous one, so again, the problem is Mentor's Night has been canceled because Brian's sick. That does not preclude somebody who has a key putting on the website that they're going to go out and welcome others. Jay, you got yours? Sorry. Come on. He looks nice.
Thank you for that. Yes, but I'm not going to.
We're not that friendly.
Yeah, it's okay, I didn't think it was going to be a very interesting month, but there are a couple of little goodies that are happening. It sounds like it's working from my end. Oh, there we go. Must be my hearing aid. Now I can just wire those into this then. Okay, so what's up? What's up? Okay, well, here's a picture of the night sky tonight if you go out, 9 p.m. So an hour from now, you can see the Milky Way stretching up from the south horizon past overhead. Interesting part of the Milky Way because we have a number of very interesting constellations all through this area. Perseus, Cassiopeia, Gemini, they're full of open clusters and some nebulas up in there, but mostly open clusters that are really good for binoculars. You don't have to have an awful lot of magnification and light collection powers to see them. You just need a little map to go and determine which ones you're looking at. And there's no complaints about the temperature right now. I'm not going to say anything about Betelgeuse because some of the people are going to say it. One thing that is coming up that's only just sort of showing up on this map at 9 o'clock, but you can see that over in here we have Leo rising, and this little shape here is the bowl of Virgo as it's coming up, and later on in the night Virgo becomes quite a bit more prominent in the sky. I talked about this last month. Here's that bowl of Virgo here. Here is Leo, Regulus, the bright star, Spica is a bright star. Beatrix is not so bright, but both of these two are among the brightest stars in that part of the sky. But this collection in here is what we call the realm of the galaxies, and that's an old name from a book from many years ago. Those of us over 50 might remember it. But you just need to slide a telescope into that area, go out to Glenley, take the dog or the 12-inch mean, and point it in there. You don't have to do any setting other than just stick it up in that area and scan around because there are so many galaxies. Here's a picture I scarfed off of astronomy picture of the day, but you can see the horrendous number of galaxies that are, just about everything fuzzy in that picture is a galaxy, hundreds of them in this image. With a good telescope like the one we have at Glenley, you'll be able to see a significant number of those if you wanted to. Venus is pretty prominent these days. Sun has no sunspots, but spaceweather.com says that one is trying to form. This is important, those of you who are not regular members, because we're at the bottom of the sunspot cycle, and if the sunspot cycle comes up to its maximum in about 6 more years, things like aurora get a lot more active. I was out till 2 o'clock in the morning last night looking at the aurora, which there wasn't any. You know you're in love with your wife when you can persuade her to go out at midnight to look for a maybe aurora and stay until 2 in the morning. So Mercury is behind the sun. We won't be seeing that until morning early in March, but it's very low in the sky, so it's not going to be particularly good apparition. Venus, of course, everybody saw it tonight when you come in. Big bright thing up there. The pictures up in the corner here show Venus tonight and a month from now, so you can see that it's gradually turning from this gibbous phase to half Venus. Gord talked about, Gayle talked about the changes in the shape of Venus. So they're moving along, and March 24th is at its farthest distance from the sun. Mars is up in the morning sky, +1 magnitude. That's about the magnitude of Betelgeuse right now. And it's in the sky with Jupiter and Saturn. And they'll start to get joined together as Mars moves past both Jupiter and Saturn. Here's the morning sky here. The evening sky. So you can see the line on this is the ecliptic. That's the plane of the Earth's orbit. So you can see Mercury and Venus and Neptune and Uranus are all in line along the ecliptic, but the only one that is really visible is Venus in here. And it's a fairly bright sky that I'm showing here because half hour later Mercury will be below the horizon. We wouldn't see it anyway. Jupiter is rising higher in the morning. It's at magnitude -2, so it's the brightest thing in the morning sky. Saturn is still low, but it's coming up quite a bit higher through March, and it's moving toward Jupiter. The two of them are sort of moving in closer and closer to each other, and they'll get together in midsummer. Uranus is fading away in the evening and probably is invisible, although if you know where to look and you've got a telescope, you'll see it. On March the 6th, it'll be beside Venus, and Neptune is in behind the sun. On March 8th, it's directly behind the sun. So we like some pictures. Moon and Venus in the sky on the 27th is probably one of the nicest. The largest full moon of the year, so we're going to, you know how the media goes with the supermoon. This is the first of 13 supermoons this year. And then March 18 looks really nice. With the crescent moon, Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars all together in the sky. I'll show you a picture of that shortly. But then it does come after the 17th, as you see here. And then the zodiacal light that Brian talks about. The zodiacal light is a reflection of sunlight off of dust that's in the plane of the Earth's orbit. And I've shown a picture here of the ecliptic, which is what controls the zodiacal light lies along the ecliptic here. And at this time of year, the ecliptic forms a very sharp angle with the horizon. So the zodiacal light sticks up very, very sharp angle in the evening sky, and so you can photograph it. It looks like this. The cone of light that's sticking up. The sun will be below the horizon here by about 45 minutes. or so. And so that's just sunlight reflecting off of the zodiacal light. And you're looking and saying, boy, that must be a pretty straight up and down ecliptic here, because otherwise it should angle over this way. This picture's taken in Australia. So. Crescent moon and Venus. So here's our moon over here, not very visible. A little bit of a crescent, pretty thin Venus in here. And so they're fairly far apart, about 7 degrees, I think. This is March 18. This is going to be very nice. So we got Jupiter, Mars, and Saturn with the crescent moon about a month from now. And that should be a very nice set of pictures if we've got some decent weather. We have comet pan-stars. Probably one of 10 comets pan-stars. This is Sheila's picture. Some of you saw it from the other night. The Heart Nebula, and here's the comet down in here, the little green object. Here's the brightness curve of the comet. So it's coming up to its peak, which is going to be sometime in another month or two. Right now, pan-stars is up just off of Cassiopeia, and it's moving down this way. So it's pretty easy to find out where it is, and at the current magnitude of about 8, it should be visible carefully with binoculars, and certainly with a small telescope. Now we have another comet coming sometime in the future called Atlas. And this is an interesting comet. It's in the bowl of the Big Dipper right now, but it's down around 14th magnitude, so there's not much to see on it. Unless you use well, you might be able to see it with the telescope at Blenley. But on May 30th, it curls right into the sun. So this here shows its actual track. Now this is what's called the local track. So that's if you stood in the same place each night, that's the track that the comet would take. And of course, the stars in the background would be changing every night. Background that you see there is the background, the current background. It's supposed to get up to +3 predicted, which is a pretty nice magnitude, but of course it's going to be right in by the sun. But on the other hand, some of the best comets we've ever had have been ones that you could barely see just ahead of sunrise or just before after sunset. So we'll be keeping an eye on that one. You can see there's quite a sharp peak in the predicted magnitude here. So it's creeping up. We'll watch that one for a while. Weather, if you're interested, you can see we got warm temperatures here according to this American model until Tuesday when we cool off. But there's only one clear radiant here on Sunday. But if you don't like that one, we can use the Canadian model. Still got the warm temperatures until they start down on Tuesday. But according to the Canadian model, Sunday night's going to be nice and clear. So we'll see who works out right. And that brings us to the cat. Thanks very much.
So we're just about to break. So the question for everybody is, does anybody have any questions about any of the things we've brought up so far before we break? Somebody has a question?
Could you repeat the 2 days? There was Yuri's night and there was another night.
Yes, we'll go back to that.
I'll put that on my calendar.
And of course, this information Gord's going to put up on the website.
Oh, of course, okay.
Oh, where is it? I'll grab it one second. Was it? There it is. Okay, so yeah. The second one was Jan English from the University of Manitoba, speaking about dark matters, 30 years of Hubble search.
Where is that?
That should be at the planetarium. Yes. The planetarium is putting on a lot of different activities now, to try and attract more people now that it's been upgraded and refurbished. It's very nice. And of course, it lines up perfectly with the RASC Winnipeg. And if we're able to support them and learn stuff, that'd be great. Any other questions? Oh, wow, that's not bad. All right, so then we're going to take a break. If you have any questions, we'll begin again at 9 o'clock.
Welcome to part 2. Glad to be here. So, just an introduction. Richard Conrad. I may not see you that often. Haven't been to a lot of Friday meetings, scheduling issues, etc. But I love this group, and I'm really happy to be part of it. I'm a classical pianist. I love photography. So astrophotography is just like the perfect blend of things here for me. So yes, I'm going to talk about astrophotography processing, and I'm absolutely passionate about it. I can't tell you how passionate I am. It's something that I find quite consuming. It's like a great combination of science and art, bringing a piece of heaven down. Anyway, I'm curious how many people here are imagers or who have imaged the sky before. Okay, not bad. That's bad. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Okay, because it's really not that difficult, and you also don't have to have your own equipment. That's often the problem, for me anyway. Most of my processing is done with others' data. Hubble, for instance, Hubble data is available. You can go and download that and process it. But finding time to go out to a dark site when the family is sleeping and set up and hopefully there's no dew, etc., etc. So you could do this. You could be a proficient imager. For that matter, you could even dial into a remote telescope in Chile or wherever. Admittedly, that's a little expensive. You can get some great images, and you would call the final product your own. It's not your own equipment. Okay, so I'm going to focus on star tools, and at this point, some of you may have a deja vu feeling, saying, I think I've heard this before, and in fact, I did present this, I think last March, so almost a year ago. However, I've learned a lot more since then. And also, I think I want to change a little bit the way I'm presenting. I'm aware that everybody is from a wide variety of backgrounds, and I really want to try to talk to everybody a little bit more on their level. And I would ask, too, it may not be common in this setting, but if there's something you don't understand, call her up and say, what did you mean by that? Or whatever. That would be totally okay. Okay, I'm also going to spend less time talking like I'm doing now and a little bit more time processing in front of you. Okay, and for those who are really not that familiar with astrophotography, I'd like to also start sort of at the beginning here and just compare what is the difference than, say, everyday normal daylight photography. Okay, so the snapshot, which would be about averaging about 1/100th of a second. Okay, so the amount of light that you would like comes in with the camera at that time. Whereas for astrophotography, as you can imagine, there's not a lot of light, and it's quite common to have, instead of 1/100th of a second, to have an image that's 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, of course, you also have to have a mount that tracks the rotation of the Earth so that the stars stay still and are not blurred. And then what you do after that is your 3 to 5 minute shot. You're going to make many of those. tape them, and you're going to load them into a special software that stacks them, okay? Thereby adding the exposure. And you can see online variations anywhere from 20 minutes exposure to 60 hours. Some people actually put in something like 60 hours to get a really, really good shot. Okay, once you have that stacked photo, then it goes into your software, which I'm going to show you. Okay, so I really like Star Tools. It's not the only processing software out there. In fact, Jay recommended that to me. I had asked, and so Jay also uses Star Tools. I find it very intuitive. I find that it processes things fairly quickly, and it's cheap, $57 for the whole thing.
Can you use it on a Mac?
Pardon me?
Can you use it on a Mac?
Yes. Yes, in fact, well, there is an issue on a Mac. And on the Star Tools website, it will say, because Mac is detects it as a virus, I think. You have to enter something in the command prompt that will allow Star Tools to run. But you'll find that on the website. Okay. Yeah, actually, before I go on, I'm also going to post on the website or on the email list. I wasn't familiar with the new website, but maybe information for you to, if you want to download your own data to try the software out, you can do that. I'll show you links where you can get that, and also the link to Star Tools. I've also made a few videos on that, so I will also, in addition to what I'm doing here, I'll have access to that. Okay, so the unique thing about Star Tools, I think what makes it stand apart from other tools, is it has a kind of intelligence. Okay, as you process, the software tracks your signal and your noise. Okay, so as you stretch an image or if you increase the exposure, etc., through various stages, it knows where the noise is in the image. So when you finally come to the point of denoising or applying your noise reduction, it will know where it is. So it's a very, very good at reducing noise. And noise is a huge, huge deal in astrophotography, as you can imagine. There's so little light here, you know. Okay. And yeah, there's many other software programs out there. PixInsight, Photoshop, etc., but they are also expensive. I'm not saying that they're not good by any means, but $300 plus, I think. Especially Photoshop, you're going to pay for Gradient Exterminator or other plugins that go in there. So yeah, so this software is well worth it, I think. And you'll listen and you decide what you think. Okay. So Star Tools creator, Ivo Jaeger, German, who lives in Australia now. It's a one-person deal. He wrote the code, and he's on the forums. There's nobody else. Okay, just to mention, I mentioned that a year ago there is a limitation in the sense that it's nice to have a fast computer when you're using the software. However, that's with high resolution images. And as I will point out very often, resolution images are actually not great to use. So a lot of the work I've done, in fact, I processed that on a first generation dual core, so very, very slow. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start the processing. I've chosen M8. Okay, it's very average data, and I thought that's maybe important to show you all rather than state of the art. It's something that we might all get, right? The data was taken. The picture is taken by Blair McDonald, who is RASC member in Halifax, and I can tell you that the total acquisition or the total imaging time is at 20 minutes, and also M8 is right on the horizon. So there's lots of turbulence, and I'll just give you start going. Okay, here we go. Okay, so when you load your data, it's going to ask you a question here. Okay, it's going to ask, is it linear? Is it not linear? Well, this is linear. This has been stacked. Okay, and so you can also choose this, and this is what Star Tools prefers. It prefers something that has not been white balanced in the stacker. So if you're stacking the image, make sure that you click Don't White Balance. Star Tools likes the data to be as version as possible. However, I know, because I asked Blair, that this is in fact white balanced, so I should choose this. Possible stacking artifacts detected, indeed. Okay, now I'm not sure how clear that is. I apologize first for my back to you, but I really need to use the screen as my monitor because it looks quite different than the laptop here. So the first step is that we need to crop the image and make sure there are no stacking artifacts. You can see it here. Okay.
How do you know those are star stacking artifacts?
Well, again, it's not that clear here. If you look at a computer screen, you can see. Probably what Blair has done is he has taken a picture and then taken another one and he's dithered. He's actually dithered it, so it's not always in the same spot. So what happens is that that area around it is not full data. In fact, I can show you what happens if I go to the next step without stacking this. Okay, so what I would do here is I want to wipe it. The next step is to wipe it, and what I'm doing is I'm removing the gradients, okay, light pollution, etc. It's very important. And if I don't deal with the artifacts, this is what I get. Sorry, this is the big picture, which I will reduce shortly. Okay, so you see, Star Tools is looking at those artifacts and thinking, this is real data, this is part of the picture. And so that's what happens, okay? So we need to make sure that we present to Star Tools just the pure data. Okay, so what I'm going to do is speed things up. I'm going to now talk about binning, okay? And binning is a reduction of resolution. We have these great modern cameras that have the megapixels and extremely high resolution, yet we're imaging in the sky something that is not all that detailed. Okay, that's called oversampling. And what happens when you oversample is that you end up with a extra noisy and extra blurry image. So what I do for something like this, especially since it's not there's a lot of noise, etc., is I will bin it, and I'm reducing it by 400%. Okay, so you might think, well, you're losing all that detail, but you're not. You'll find out that the image looks no different, except that it's cleaner. And now Star Tools also will process the image quicker. So I'm going to start over again. I'm going to crop out the artifacts. And this should move a lot more quickly now. Okay, so I'm going to now remove the gradient. Sorry, I forgot one process. Excuse me. Okay, so one of the first things you should be doing here is stretching the image, okay? Auto dev. Okay, and that will show you what's going on here, okay? You can see the gradient, right? And that's probably due to a little bit of light pollution, okay? So, and there might even be some other artifacts here that I can't see, but I don't necessarily want to take all the time to do that, but I'm just going to show you that. Okay, so we're going to hit white. Okay, the dark anomaly filter, that will avoid anything of that certain pixel. Okay, so for instance, if there are little sensor dust or something around here, 3 or less, it'll ignore it. So it's always good to put that at 3 or something a little higher. Okay, so it's been wiped, and it's also been stretched temporarily. Okay, so it's giving you an idea that it looks clean, and we can proceed. So keep. Okay, now it's brought it back down to its linear state. Okay, the same state that we saw it originally. Okay, now another unique thing about Star Tools is this auto dev that I was talking about. And in most other software, at this stage, we'd be stretching the image with curves or levels or whatever in a manual way. Okay, but like I said, the software has a certain intelligence, and it's analyzing the image, and it's deciding sort of where the contrast should be. And so it's giving us sort of its opinion, or its best guess at what you might like. Okay, so redo, stretch. Okay, so we have this. It's a little bright for my taste. So I'm going to go to ignore fine detail because there's noise here. And again, the program is interpreting the noise as real data. And that's the reason why this is so bright. Okay, again, Star Tools is taking it all for face value. Okay, so ignore. I might try that. I'm not sure if that made much of a difference actually. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. Another way, and this is probably the most common, is that we can take a region of interest, let's say this, and now it's going to focus on the exposure and the brightness and contrast, etc., of that area, and apply it to the whole thing. Okay, so as you can see, we've got some nice structure already there. For my taste, it's a little dark on the edges, etc., but we can work with that. So I'm going to try maybe a little larger. Okay, and I'm going to keep that. Okay, and this is my own personal taste. The colors you see here are not calibrated. I like to call them pseudo-color, because the color calibration will happen at a later stage. Because actually Star Tool is not processing color at all. It's just processing the luminance. Okay, that's the channel that has all the details. Okay, so what I do at this point is I go to color and I desaturate the whole thing. I just find it's distracting if the colors are there and they're not what they're supposed to be exactly. Okay, so I'm going to keep that. Okay, so my next step, I'm going to go into the high dynamic range module here. Okay, and that deals with the relationship between the shadows and the highlights. Okay, so in this case, equalize. It's going to attempt to equalize the image somewhat. So the bright parts will be darker and the dark parts will be a little bit lighter. That way, I sort of make this a little more homogeneous. Again, that's a personal decision. It's actually quite remarkable, just 20 minutes of acquisition. It's quite something. Okay, so I'm going to add a bit more. Okay, so amidst the tools in the software, I'm going to go back to HDR, and then there's an option here to reveal, and that is really called reveal the core, the DSO core, which is kind of meant for galaxies where the core is blown out. And what it does is it goes to the brightest areas and seeks out detail. Okay, you see the difference I've made there? Okay, quite dramatic. Too dramatic for my taste, so I'm going to back off a little bit, because I'm going to be sharpening this yet a little bit more. And a lot of these operations kind of piggyback on one another. Okay, so that's better. Yeah. Okay, another tool that I use a lot is the contrast module. And I'll just show you a range of what it can do. I'm going to set the aggressiveness really high, show you what that does. Okay, so that's radical, but that's what that does. And if I lower it, then this is what I get. I could have reduced the resolution yet a little bit more. Of course, this would have been thicker, so excuse the Okay. Okay, so I'm going to set it for somewhere like that. My choice. So you'll find that when you're doing contrast change like this, it's going to darken the image ever so slightly. You're going to lose a little bit of exposure. So when you start off your image, often it's not a bad idea to start with a little bit too much. Okay, and if you want to brighten the dark point a little bit, you can always do this. Okay, and now another tool, which I use quite a lot, you go back to contrast, and if you don't want it to darken the image like I just mentioned, you go to compensate gamma, yes, and now it's going to do the same contrast, but it's going to then also stretch the image a little bit, so to sort of keep its luminance. So we're going to try something like that. Okay. basically increase the contrast there. I can sort of smooth the contrast out through the picture a little bit if I raise this, which gives it a little bit of a more of a natural look, but that's too much. Okay, so I'll keep that. Okay, so the next step, and I think that we can do this, is called deconvolution. And what that's going to do, it's going to form an inverse star mask. Okay, so what it's going to do is it's going to select all the larger, brighter stars and invert the mask. Maybe I'll just show you what, it's easier if I just do it. Okay, so Star Tools is going to auto-generate this mask. And deconvolution is a kind of sharpening. It's pretty neat because it almost has the effect of cutting through bad seeing. Okay, so it doesn't just sharpen, but it looks like it gets rid of the haze, you know. Okay, so you can see anything that's green is being affected. And you also notice it's surrounding the stars. So the effect of the deconvolution, probably even more so than sharpening the main object, is it's going to make the stars clearer. It's going to clear around the fuzziness around the edges a little bit. It also has the effect of increasing noise a little bit, so you have to be very careful. So if you look carefully, you can see, I'm not sure on that screen how clear that is. But can you see a little clarity there in the stars? It's subtle, but it's there. So if you want to bite down on the stars a little bit more, you just increase the radius slightly. Okay, so I like that. It's not always possible to do that. So let's see what effect. Whoops. What's going on here? Okay, so it's pretty subtle. It doesn't always, I mean, if the seeing was good to begin with, it's not going to help it all that much. So I'm just going to apply that to all. Okay, so while we're waiting, with this mask, we can also, for our next step, we can also now do a standard sharpening. Okay, because again, the green is everywhere but the stars, and we don't want to sharpen the stars, we want to sharpen the main object. So we'll keep that. Okay, so structure size, we can sharpen large, medium, and small. Okay, so I like to start from the large and work my way down. So we have to be a little careful here because basically what the mask has done is it's selected most of the stars, but not all of them. And it's selected the stars that are called linear. So these are the stars that showed up in the original black object that you just saw. Those stars that are visible before the stretch. Okay, so we still have small stars. And if you want to do this perfectly, then you'll need to also mask the small stars. But just for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to just leave it as it is. Okay, push that up quite a bit, I think.
Does the program allow you to do a histogram of what the image contains?
There's absolutely no histogram.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I actually emailed the developer about that, and he said you don't need it because Star Tools can't clip. It won't clip, and that's one of the reasons why.
It's helpful to know what you're doing or how the image is being processed.
Well, I guess just look at it.
Good plan.
I mean, you could look at it in another program, right? But see, see, the problem here is now it's sharpened all the stars that weren't masked. So I'm actually going to do this a bit better here. I'm going to go back to the mask, invert it. Okay. And I'm going to, sorry, back to here. Okay, so I'm going to hit stars, not fat stars. Fat stars are the linear ones that are already selected. So I'm going to hit just stars. I'm going to say add new to old. So I'm going to add the new stars now in addition to what's already there. And the feature size is fairly small, something like that. Okay, so now we've got way too much, but it's also selected the noise. So if I hit shrink, there you go. And maybe grow once. So now I've got all the stars. And I can afford maybe to grow that a bit more. Okay, now that should be much better. Okay, so that's, you can see a little bit of sharpening there. This new version has kind of a neat function here called dark and light enhance. So when you're sharpening something, it's a kind of contrast. So the whites are getting whiter, the darks are getting darker. But this controls how light, it determines what you're going to focus on. If I bring it all the way down, it's only going to darken the parts and not whiten the white areas. So that's actually what I like. Anyway, you can experiment with this, of course, in the daily life. So it's fairly sharp. I think it was almost good enough to begin with, but I just wanted to show you how that works. Okay. Sorry, there's so much more I could tell you about the software, but for the purpose of this image, this is about all I think I need to do. So I'm going to get into color. I think I've done that. Just looking at the noise to see how bad that is. And actually, I think I'm going to bend this down one more time. Okay, so I'm bending down another 200%. So now we're basically 800% from original. And what happens here is, this looks okay, but if you start to zoom in, you'll see square stars, right? So you have to decide yourself, you know, is it worth it? Okay, so there are a number of ways to calibrate the color. One is simply go to the color module and just do what it says. Build a mask. It's going to analyze the image, and that's what we get. If you look, you can see there's quite a bit of green in there, and I think that it's taking this information a lot from the noise as well. So what I often do is instead I mask the stars. So basically I'm going to select all the stars, and I'm going to get a white balance from that. Because the average color of all the red, blue, yellow stars would be white. Okay, that's similar to our own sun. Okay, so I'm going to keep that. And I'm going to sample. Okay, and now I'm going back to the mask. Okay, clear it. I'm going to apply that information to the whole image. And that's what I get, which I think is more realistic. Okay, so, you might want to tweak this if you like. The Max RGB is kind of a useful tool because it will show you a distribution of colors. especially if your monitor isn't calibrated perfectly. So it'll show, and this looks pretty good. There's not a lot of green. Green is a color to watch out for, because it's not really a naturally occurring color. Not completely, but more or less. In fact, the green you see here are the blown out stars, and that is quite common. And any other green is a result of noise, so I think that's actually pretty good. Oops, sorry. Okay, so we can increase the saturation. I like to increase the dark saturation a little bit. That's the darkest part, so that get the color. And this, of course, is a matter of taste. You know, what color is it really? You know, but the blending of colors generally that should be fairly accurate. Okay, I'll just stick with that. Sorry, I don't know what these artifacts are. That's that could be the beta. This version is a beta, so I have to email the developer about that. Okay, so the next step would be to denoise. And we have version Denoise and Denoise 2. And Denoise 2 is brand new to Star Tools. The developer likes to retain a little bit of noise in his image. He feels it gives it added vibrance. So there are two schools, those who like to get rid of it all and those who like to keep a little bit back. I think I'm the former here. Sorry. What happened here? Okay, sorry. Okay, so again, it is kind of intelligently decided how big the noise grains are. And you can see the size here. It says 4 pixels. That may or may not be true. Basically, it's blurred the image a bit, and it's basically blurred it. You'll need to blur it until you cannot see any noise, and that determines how large. Then it will know how large the grain size is. So I'm going to do that. This can be corrected later. I'm sorry, this may take a little while. This is one of the slower processes. Any questions so far?
Can you step out? Tutor that comes with it?
What's that?
Is there a guide or a tutor? Like there's so many.
Well, there are quite a few videos. Yeah, they're tutorial videos. Ivo has posted quite a few of those. If you go to the website, you'll see. Yeah.
Do you stack the pictures initially with Star Tools as well?
Star Tools doesn't stack, no. No.
What do you stack it with?
I think I use Searle, Deep Sky Stacker. You can really use any stacking program as long as it, as long as you don't apply a white balance. I think that's the important thing if you want to get the best. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so now we can highlight small areas, and of course the process is a lot quicker now. Let's see what that's like. That's pretty noisy. The difference. Okay. So I would say that that's too much. I'm going to back off. That's a bit better.
without seeing all of the different layers of adjustment that you've applied to this image? Like, if you applied contrast 6 steps back, is there a way that you can go in there and say, like, oh, maybe I didn't want to do that and take it out?
Yeah, no, that's not part of the program. In fact, what I'm doing here now, there's kind of no going back, and you can't save it until you finish this. Once you finish this, tracking is over. Okay, the whole idea is that it knows where the noise is, now it's dealt with it.
Yeah.
And as a result, you can now use a whole bunch of more tools, actually, after this. But somebody, part of the forum, has actually written a program that allows you to do just that.
Okay.
So you open it up along the STAR tools, and then you can go back. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if it's going back to study it, or whether you can do that in process. I think it's more
if you're just
for
like
studies.
comparing what you've done.
Yeah, and there's a log. Also, there's a log right now too. As it's,
Okay.
you can, the log is filling up with what you've done, so you can look back on the log. Okay, so the other things you can do here. Okay, so I've lowered the grain size a lot, so it's not really as blurry here. But what you can also do, you can increase the smoothness, okay, which just smooths things out. It's another form of noise reduction. Or scale correlation. And what that does is it smooths out the darkest areas and leaves the lighter areas less touched, which is kind of neat for galaxies and stuff like that. Okay, so I'm going to leave it like that. Okay, so this is what we've got so far, but that doesn't mean we're done. It just means that it's denoised. And the next step I would take is to shrink the stars. So we go into our mask, auto stars. And this is just experimentation to find out sort of what setting is right. This is the feature size, okay, so it's going to go for stars, roughly that large and smaller. And this is the filter sensitivity. So you have to be careful that it doesn't start to pick up noise, little bits of noise that you didn't quite get. So I'm going to try that. Okay. Again, this is definitely an update I didn't know about, because there's sort of certain things here that caught me off guard. So, okay, so that's good. And shrink. So it's preset. The mask is grown 1 pixel, and it's going to shrink it by 1 pixel. Okay, so that has had an effect. Like I see, the problem with bidding it too much here is the stars start to lose their character. So, if I had to do this over again, I probably would not have bid it that one last time, because the stars are really, as soon as you shrink it 1 pixel, they look like dust. But there's a way around that, so I'm going to cancel. And I'm going to take my mask, I'm going to shrink it, so it will actually let go of some stars. The smallest star is going to let go. And yeah, so I'm throwing it, and now it's let go of a lot of the smaller stars. So hopefully that should look better. Okay, I think that's a little bit better. Anyway, it's not perfect. I would be doing it over again if I had the time, but I hope that shows you a little bit about what can be done. Okay, so we have another 15 minutes. I didn't think we'd have that, so I would like to do another image, if you're okay with that. And I may not finish it, but it will just show maybe a different side of the software. Okay, so I am going to open an image by Jim Misty. And he has, I don't know what it is, it's a meter wide aperture telescope, something incredible. And all this stuff is available online.
Richard, are all your file formats TIFF?
Pardon me?
The software will only process TIFF file formats? You can't take in JPEG? Or RAW?
It will take FIT, TIFF, and I think it will take uncompressed JPEG. Yeah. So you
raw
can load
images have to be
JPEGs.
processed in TIFF then?
Pardon me?
Raw images have to be processed in TIFF file format. But they TIFF.
Well, this will be the stacked image, right? Like all the raw are stacked, right? So it'll be FIT or TIFF. Am I answering your question?
Yeah,
Okay.
so TIFF, basically.
Okay.
Maybe a dumb question here, but when you were working in essentially the luminance channel, and then you said apply colors to it. Where is getting that color information from? Are there different, like essentially different plates, like that you would get with an oxygen filter or a hydrogen filter? Or
Well, I loaded the entire thing, right?
Yeah.
I loaded the entire image, and then I desaturated it just because I didn't want to look at colors while I was processing.
Oh, okay. So then it takes the color information from the original image, applies it to the luminance mask, and then you've got a little bit more detail.
Right, right. Because almost all the information is in the luminance, right?
Yeah.
The colors are. Anyway, I'm going to show you something here. This is M101. This works. I think we've frozen. Wow. Try that again.
That was quick.
Okay, and the side, I was going to show you. The color module, and there's an option. There's a preset Hubble, so you can actually process Hubble palette in Star Tools, and it has a preset and adjust color. This is an example. I did this. So this is my interpretation of the pillars of creation. And that's M8. It's a different data set, but that again is done by Star Tools with the preset. Okay, so I better open up. Okay, so this is obviously not a DSLR. I'm loading each individual channel here. So this is taken from a CCD, okay, with the RGB filters. Oh, no. Oh, we're so close.
Froze. Can you go back?
Well, I have to close it down. I can try one more time, okay? Okay. I use a Linux version of this. I haven't had the same issue. I actually tried Windows once, but they should be similar. Okay, try one more time. Yay. Okay. Okay, so this is also another option here. L plus synthetic L from RGB. And what it's doing is it's not just using the luminance channel, but it's using the luminant information from the color channels. So it's boosting the luminance from the other channels which would normally just be used for pure color. Okay, it's kind of neat. That's often called as super luminance. So that's giving us yet extra detail. It's linear. And straight off the bat, I'm going to dim this down so we can work faster, and I think you won't lose any detail at all. Okay. Okay, we hit auto div to see what we've got. Okay, we can see that we need to crop that out. Going to wipe it. Raise that to 3 just in case there's some dark anomalies lurking around. Actually, online, there's an instructional, a tutorial where Ivo Jaeger actually goes through this data to show how Star Tools works. So, okay, so that is the white version. This now displays what the color looks like, white. Okay, so it's not great color, but it's you don't see a lot of bands and different colored things, which would mean that it's not done properly. Keep the result. Now we redo our stretch. Redo global stretch. And what I did here is I'm just going to take a small cross section of the galaxy. So I'm passing by sort of a lot of different areas here, dark and light. And you just have to experiment yourself what works best with what. Okay, that's a possibility. You could also try something like that. Okay. I think I'm going to go with something close to this. Nope, like that. Okay, well, I'll just leave it there and ignore a small amount of detail, which is probably noise. Okay, another thing to do, especially with galaxies, if you like, again, go into the HDR module, equalize. So we make this a bit darker, that a little bit lighter. Okay. And my next step would be go into contrast here. Let's do sort of a little contrast adjustment. Okay. Okay, so I like the brightness of that, so I'm going to do another contrast adjustment, but I'm going to compensate the gamma like I had said before. I want to keep the brightness, but I still want some contrast. So sort of guess here. I don't even know if I need to apply any sharpening to that. That looks to me pretty good. But the core, I'm going to see if I can dig out a little bit of detail there. So I'm going to go again into the HDR module, reveal, DSO core. And I'm going to reduce the detail size range. Oops. That's not quite the problem. Okay. Thanks. Try that. Okay. So you see the difference? Quite neat. And that's actually, that's nice. I like that. I want to increase the strength. I could do that. That seems better. Yeah, you want to lose this. Problem's there. Okay, thank you. Okay, so another way, I'm going to add color now. Another way of doing this is simply to select the galaxy. Because the average color, assuming this is a spiral galaxy much like our own, the average color will again be white. So that's what I'm going to do. The default mask here. The brush mode is flood filled lighter pixels, so I simply click on an area close there. See, it pretty much selected the whole galaxy. Okay, going into the color module now. Keep the mask, and I'm going to sample it. Okay, like before. I'm going to apply that information to the whole thing. Okay, now that's as much color as I can get out of it right now. The reason is because I added there's so much luminance information here, and so little color. It's almost like dropping some white paint into bright colors, right? So you can further accentuate the colors if you like later on. But that's pretty much it. And the next step here would be to do the noise reduction. Again, until you don't see any noise, that's the grain size. So anyway, that's 10 o'clock. So, any other questions?
You said you had also created some videos as well.
Pardon me?
You had created videos as well. You said.
I have, yeah. I'll not many, some.
Okay.
But, yeah, I've done that, so I can forward the links to the website or
Just
email.
curious how you would use those.
Yeah, cool.
You might want to consider setting up a blog on the website. You know, if you're as passionate as you describe yourself, you probably will learn something new and want to share it.
Yeah. Oh, love to. Any other questions?
I downloaded the demo version of Star Tools, and I had a very difficult time kind of getting anything working. Is it, I guess, how watered down is the demo version versus full-blown?
Oh, the demo version is exactly the same, except you can't save it. That's the only, like it's fully functioning.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I wasn't using it properly.
It's different. Like it's different than other softwares. You know, very often with other software, you're supposed to start very carefully so the noise doesn't get out of control. You know, gradually make things brighter. But Star Tools, you kind of start the other way around.
And this was originally in Linux?
I think it was written originally for Linux, but if you download it, it comes in 32, 64-bit Windows, Linux, Mac, all in one go. The whole thing is like 2 megabytes or something. It's incredible. It's just a tiny program.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Richard. Just two points before I close down. Richard mentioned about taking,
data from possibly some remote telescopes. If you weren't aware, RASC National has a remote telescope. It will be going live shortly, and you could book time on it. There'll be a process, all that information is coming up shortly. And the other thing you mentioned, you gotta have a mount. Well, we have a loaner scope program where you can borrow a mount from us to be able to do the tracking to allow you to get some of your own images. And with that, thank you very much for coming out tonight. Of course, Boston Pizza is where a lot of people will gather after this. Thank you all very much for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
Great.